morning, we're in the record. As chairperson of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board for the District of Columbia, in accordance with DC Official Code Section 2576 of the Open Meetings Act, I am welcoming you to the regular scheduled meeting of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to guidance made available by the District of Columbia's Office of Open Government regarding electronic meetings held by public bodies during the public health emergency. Pursuant to this guidance, notice of today's meeting was provided 48 hours in advance of the meeting on ABRA's website and on the District Central meeting calendar. The notice includes the time, date, agenda, and call-in or login information for public participation. This electronic meeting is being hosted by a WebEx account provided by the District of Columbia government. Please address any questions or complaints to the OOG at opengov.office@dc.gov. My name is Donovan Anderson. I'm chairman of the board. I would like to introduce the other members of the ABC board who are also participating electronically pursuant to Mayor's Order 2020-054. Please respond when I announce your name. Mr. James Short.
Mr. James Short, present.
Mr. Bobby Cato.
Bobby Cato.
Ms. Rafi Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, present.
Ms. Jenny Henson.
Jenny Hansen, present.
Mr. Edward Grandis. Mr. Grandis.
Yes, Edward Grandis present.
The board has 6 members in attendance for the conduct of business today, and that constitutes a quorum. Before we get underway with today's hearing calendar, I need to make a I don't need to state that today because we do not have any hearing scheduled. But if there is anyone on the line, and if you have any technical difficulties, please please raise a comment in our question and the question and answer feature, or you can send an email to simone.andrews2@dc.gov if you have any questions that you would like to address. So we'll now go to our agenda for our calendar for the day. The first case in our calendar, it was a qualifications hearing, Charcoal Town, license number 117535. This hearing is canceled due to the withdrawal of the application by the applicant. The next case on our calendar, there was a protest hearing, case number 21 PRO 00005, New 7th Market, license number 113576. This hearing is continued to July 28th at 3:30 p.m. And that concludes our calendar for the day. We'll now move to our legal agenda. The first matter on our legal agenda is a review of Target's Liquor's motion for reconsideration of the cancellation of its license. This is Target Liquor, license number 000434. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett, seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion as a proper second by Ms. Crockett. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Hanson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. The next matter on our legal agenda is a review of Wine Key's Experience request for reinstatement of its canceled license. This is Wine Key Experience, license number 114575. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short and Mr. Grandis has second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Hanson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. The next request, it's review of Gala Hispanics Theater's request for reinstatement of its canceled license. Gala Hispanic Theater, license number 072095. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett
Grandis will second.
seconds.
Ms. Crockett and Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. The next matter is a review of the Second Amendment Settlement Agreement dated April 29, 2021 between Advisory Neighborhood Commission 6C and Wonder Garden, license number 098173. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We now have a roll call vote on the motion that's been properly seconded by Ms. Crockett. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. The next request, a review of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 6B's request to extend the protest petition deadline to June 14th, 2021. This is in the Santa Rosa Taqueria, license number 117582. I make a motion to deny this request, and the board is denying the request because the statute requires that both parties be agreeable to the request to continue, and the licensee did not consent to the request. So therefore, I make a motion that we deny this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote on the motion that's been properly seconded by Mr. Short. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson agrees. The matter passed 6-0. The next request, a review of Junction Bistro's Bar and Bakery's request for reinstatement of its canceled license. Junction Bistro Bar and Bakery, license number 116122. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. Excuse me, we now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Hanson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson agrees. The matter passed 6-0. The next matter is a review of Cucina Al Volo's request for reinstatement of its canceled license. This is Cucina Al Volo, license number 104755. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson agrees. The matter passed 6-0. The next matter is a review of Advisory Neighborhood Commission's 8A's request for a continuance of the protest hearing in the New Market 7, license number 113576. The applicant has also agreed to the continuance. So therefore, I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion that's been properly seconded by Mr. Short. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson agrees. The matter passed 6-0. The next request is it's a request from the Metropolitan Police Department reimbursable detail officer program notice of third emergency rulemaking. This third emergency rulemaking, the purpose of this rulemaking is to, one, restore the hours of eligibility for obtaining reimbursement for RDO services to the pre-COVID-19 pandemic hours of 11:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. Sunday through Saturday. Number two, to restore the hours of eligibility for obtaining reimbursement for RDO services for temporary license holders or those approved for a one-day substantial change license to the pre-COVID-19 pandemic hours of 24 hours a day. And number three is to add in the DC Main Streets program to the list of entities eligible for participation in the RDO subsidy program. I therefore make a motion that the ABC board adopts this third emergency rulemaking. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short and Mr. Grandis, I second the motion. We now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0-0. We now move to our licensing agenda. The first matter on the licensing agenda is a review request to expand the premises and increase total occupancy load in conjunction with updated certificate of occupancy. The licensee requests to add the first floor to the operations, which results in an increase in total occupancy load from 68 to 164 inside, and to increase the summer garden from 34 to 114. This is due drop in license number 097569. I make a motion that this matter be placarded. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We now have a roll call vote in the motion that's been properly seconded by Ms. Crockett. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0-0. The next matter on our licensing agenda is a review request to withdraw application for transfer to new location at 2521 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. This is from Logan Circuit Liquors, license number 086950. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0-0. We now move to our supplemental licensing agenda. The first matter on our supplemental licensing agenda is review request for a temporary operating retail permit. This is a request from the Residence Inn by Marriott, Washington, Capitol Hill, Navy Yard, license number 118427. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short and Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0-0. The next matter is a review request for a stipulated license with letter of ANC support for a new ABC license. This is Wasted Wives, license number 118177. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett
Grandis.
seconds.
Ms. Crockett and Mr. Grandis have seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0-0. The next matter is a review application for stipulated license with letter of ANC support for a new ABC license. This is his and hers, license number 118224. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. The next matter is review request for a nonprofit auction permit in order to auction off the donated alcoholic beverage products in food and beverage baskets in the annual school fundraising event to be held on June 3rd, 4th. And this is from the Christian Family Montessori School license auction number 00005. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis, second.
Mr. Grandis and Mr. Short to second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to our second supplemental licensing agenda. The first matter on our second supplemental licensing agenda is the review request to withdraw application for a new ABC license. This is Charcoal Town license number 117535. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis, second.
Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion that's been properly seconded by Mr. Grandis. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Hanson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to our docket. The following applications were submitted to the Alcohol and Beverage Control Board for review. There are 10 licensees on this applicants on this docket. I will read the names and I will state what they concern, what's been requested. At the end of the list, I'll make a motion that we approve the request. So the first request, the request made by Heights Liquor, license number 118369. They are a retailer, a liquor store. This is a transfer with sale application. The second request, a request made by Karaoke Cowboy, license number 117277. They are retailer C Tavern. It's a new ABC application. The next request, a request made by Papa's Liquors, license number 118381. They are a retailer, a liquor store. It's a transfer with sale application. The next request is a request from Santa Rosa Taqueria, license number 117582. This is a retailer C restaurant. This is transfer without sale application. The next request, a request made by Santa Rosa Taqueria, license number 117582. They are retailer C restaurant, transfer to new location, which is now 313 through 315 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast. The next request, a request made by High Road Cycling, license number 117890. This is a retailer C restaurant. This is a new request for a new ABC license application. The next request, a request from Breakthrough Beverage, license number 60518. They are a wholesaler A. This is a gift and loan application for Soda Stream machine. The next request, a request made by DC City Smokehouse, license number 118390. They are caterer. This is a new ABC license application. The next request, a request made by Delina, license number 117926. They are retailer C restaurant. This is a new ABC license application. And the last request is a request made by Reboot Beverages, license number 118291. They are wholesaler A, and this is for a new ABC license application. I therefore make a motion that the ABC board approve the requests that were made by the applicants. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion that's been properly seconded by Mr. Short. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato. Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson agree. The matter therefore passed 6-0-0. We're now at the end of our agenda items for the day, and I will formally close the meeting and adjourn for the day. As chairperson of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board for the District of Columbia, in accordance with Title III, Chapter 405, Office of Open Government, I move that the ABC Board hold a closed meeting on June 9th, 2021, for the purpose of discussing and hearing reports concerning ongoing or planned investigations of alleged criminal or civil misconduct or violations of law or regulations, and seeking legal advice from our legal counsel on the board's investigative agenda, legal agenda, and licensing agenda for June 9th, 2021, as published in DC Registry on May 28th, 2021. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. I will now take a roll call vote on the motion before us now that it's been seconded. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. As it appears that the motion has passed 6-0, I hereby give notice that the ABC Board will hold this aforementioned closed meeting pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. Notice will also be posted on the ABC Board Hearing Room Bulletin Board, placed on the electronic calendar on Amber's website, and published in the DC Register in as timely a manner as practical. We're now adjourned for the day. I want to thank the board members for their participation today. Also thank the public for its participation today. So now that the public session is formally ended, I now direct all board members to return to executive session for further business. Thank you very much.